Hey guys, it's Abby with MotorCityNerds, and Happy New Year! About to go into 2024, but just like last year, I want to do a rewind of the movies that are celebrating anniversaries this year. Now, I've already talked about Return of the King. That's the big one. I totally forgot that Prisoner of Azkaban didn't come out in 2003. That came out in 2004. And last year when I did this, I was shocked at how big of a year 2002 was. We had Spider-Man, we had 8 Mile. It was a huge year. Now, 2003 ain't nothing to sneeze at, but I mean, I think a lot of people probably were like, do we really want to put anything out against Lord of the Rings and things like that? I will say this about 2003. There's a lot of hidden gems in here that aren't like attached to huge IPs or whatever that were pretty good and I remember really liking. So 20 years ago, The Last Samurai, Freddy vs. Jason, The Matrix Reloaded, 13. Oh my gosh. Why did I think that was older than that? The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Now, here's one that I remember really liking and me and my cousins watched all the time. Do you guys remember Head of State with Bernie Mac and Chris Rock? That shit's funny. Oh yeah, this is the same year we got the first Pirates of the Caribbean, which is one. I stand by that Pirates 1 is pretty perfect. It's pretty great. Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle, Girl with the Pearl Earring, Mona Lisa Smile. Like I said, there's nothing like, God, this was a time to be alive. It's the early 2000s where we had huge IPs coming out like Lord of the Rings, like Harry Potter, but then we also still had jams that weren't attached to anything. And we had them regularly, and they were popular. I remember one of my cousins really liked Stuck on You, and I remember not caring for it too much, but I haven't watched that in years. But this is what I mean about these little jams we had. Bringing Down the House is from 2003. I cannot believe that's 20 years old. Malibu's Most Wanted, those are all from 2003. Do you remember when Freddy vs. Jason was coming out? The hype around that was crazy. Oh, and they did that god-awful Dumb and Dumberer, and everybody was pissed. That's probably the only time they really tried to push that. They tried pushing, like, bringing back things for a second, but we weren't having it. Dickie Roberts' Child Star, we watched that a lot. Love Don't Cost a Thing, I think that's from 2003. I mean, I feel like we came out of 2002 so hot that they were like, we're just going to put out like comedies and things we know that will hit and wait for Return of the King to end. Underrated 2003 comedy that I personally love. Hobart, is everything okay? Don't shake everything, please. But no, an underrated one, and I quote it all the time whenever anybody's like, oh, are you going to go in the sun or whatever, and I say, I'm Irish, I'll sizzle like a sausage, is Duplex with Ben Stiller, with the old Irish lady living upstairs. That shit is so funny. I really can't believe some of these are 20 years old. Oh yeah, my favorite that we just reviewed, X2, that came out in 2003, that's 20 years old this year. Now, outside of Return of the King, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. It was one of the biggest movies of that year. It's great. And it had probably a huge impact on me as a 11-year-old girl. And we got Kill Bill Volume 1. And it was my favorite and still is favorite thing. Because at that point I had already been watching Tarantino. But this was like, it was past like, oh, I like Tarantino, and it was like, no, I love this so much. I love this character. I love everything about this so much. I enjoy Volume 2 better, but I feel like that's a personal thing, like, because of, like, personal connections to it. But I do know that 1 is fundamentally a better film, but I just count it as one big movie. If I'm going to watch Kill Bill Volume 1, I'm going to watch Kill Bill Volume 2. And I do think the funnest part about that is, with Tarantino, if you know anything about him, you know, like, he loves samurai films, and you know he loves westerns. And if you know anything about film, you know that samurai movies and westerns are essentially identical. And Tarantino loves both those genres. And so with Volume 1, we got a kung fu movie, and with Volume 2, we got a western. And I really, really love that whole vibe. And I really love them coming together. God, I just love everything about it. It's so good. I cannot believe it's 20 years old. And that still holds up. Uma Thurman is the best. But can I say something about Tarantino that might bother some people? I love Tarantino. Same thing with Spielberg. I love him too. But they have become, I feel, so big for so long, and rightfully so, that they've lost a connection with regular people. They've lost that. And I'm not saying they don't make great movies still, but that grittiness, that heartfeltness, that we can relate with these characters and really hold on to them and love them, and it's not like it was before. And like I said, if you hear them talk now even, it's very different from before. It's very different. And I mean, of course it's going to be different from when they were younger and stuff, but I'm like, no, you're like, you really don't see how, like, it was like around the time when Steven Spielberg went nutso at the Oscars for Roma being nominated, and he's like, I hate streaming. And it's like, really? Mr. I made Jaws for no money and created the blockbuster? Like, you don't like these things giving things an opportunity? But I'm like, I feel like the Steven Spielberg from 30 years ago would not feel the same way. And that happens with age, with everybody and everything, no matter who you are, but I feel like because they're so unrelatable and they're so in a bubble like they are now because they've been so big and for so long, that like I said, I feel like even their movies are still good and great, but you don't have that real feeling with them anymore. I would say the last time Tarantino did that for me was Django. I kind of even felt that way, like Inglourious Bastards felt a little like cold and not the same. Like Pulp Fiction, you feel like you're riding in the car with your friends. Reservoir Dogs, you feel like you're with those guys at the diner. I love Inglourious Bastards, but I don't know. I feel like they specifically, I could keep going with directors, but I do feel like specifically with Tarantino and Spielberg and people of that caliber, they really have lost a piece of them with the success they've gotten. But it does make me a little sad. And that's what I mean. It's not like any of these things are bad. It's not bad. Inglourious Bastards is great. Untold Hollywood Story, great. But do you feel the same affinity for those characters as you do for Jules and Vincent Vega and Vic Vega and Mr. White and like all and the Wolf and I don't know. They just don't have the same vibe. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like Tarantino and these bigger people have really just gotten older, but also lost kind of what it was like to be normal. But oh my God, I can't praise Kill Bill enough. That's another movie you don't want to watch with me. That, Predator, Jaws, because I'm just going to recite it to you, Zoolander. Let's talk about things that turned 30 in 2023. Things turning 30 this year. Mrs. Doubtfire, Tombstone. God, do you guys remember Swing Kids? They made us watch that in school all the time, and I don't know why. The Fugitive, The Last Action Hero. What's wrong, Hobart? Oh my God, Sean Astin has 2 big anniversaries. He's got Lord of the Rings, 20 year, and he's got Rudy, 30 years. 30 years, Jesus! Sleepless in Seattle, The Firm, some other major ones. Jurassic Park, which we reviewed earlier in the year. Aladdin. Aladdin is 30 years old. A Few Good Men, Free Willy, Scent of a Woman, and one of my favorite movies of all time, Groundhog Day. Hocus Pocus, iconic. The Nightmare Before Christmas, iconic. Falling Down. Now, this next one I'm going to say I just watched recently, and people might be upset with the take I'm about to give. Maybe I'll do a whole review on it because it's an anniversary. Well, I'll try to get it out before 2024. But Homeward Bound. I know that if you remember correctly, we're like, yeah, Shadow, old wise dog. The Labrador Retriever, he's an idiot. He is a moron. If they didn't listen to Shadow, they would have been fine. They would have been totally fine. Every direction he says is absolutely incorrect, and they're all just listening to him. And as a kid, I think we're just like, oh, a wise old man voice. Listen to him. He don't know shit. I think a couple of my favorites from this year would be Demolition Man, and a big honorable mention to The Good Son. I love The Good Son. My mom loves The Good Son. I don't know. I've been watching that, I feel like my whole life. I think The Good Son is great, and I'm kind of shocked that they let Macaulay Culkin do that at the time, because he was Mr. Cute Kid of America. And then we got our boy there. We got Elijah there killing the game. But The Good Son, that's a little jam. A Bronx Tale, Needful Things. I like doing these at the end of the year and going over the anniversaries and how old things are turning and how crazy time is going by. It's insane. But I definitely think after reading some of these and writing some of them down, 2002 is definitely a better year than 2003. But I definitely think that Lord of the Rings and other things were affecting 2003. That's for sure. And then when it comes to 1993, it's like, damn, dude. And 94 and 92 are huge years. And 93 is a big year too, but it's just crazy to think how much time goes by. But I'm Abby with MotorCityNerds. Let me know if I talked about one of your favorite movies. Let me know what your favorite movie celebrating an anniversary this year would be. Yeah, I'm on OF, I'm on TikTok, I'm on all the things down below. Please leave a comment, please leave a like. It helps so much. Consider subscribing. We're on our way to 2K. And yeah, Happy New Year. Let's do it.